it's on. And I've got my thing pulled up here. Okay. Alright guys, Jen here. Hope everybody's doing well. That's better. I didn't like the other view. It made me look really large, and whenever I meet people in person, or have met people in person in the past, they're always like, wow, you're a lot smaller than I thought you'd be. Ugh, please ignore the oil all over me, but it is that season. Okay, so I'm gonna ramble for just a minute or two to lay out my goal and intention for this video, and my disclaimers are in the description box. I'm gonna do my best not to get too sidetracked by the chat. As always, everybody is welcome here. Hatred is not. Bots really aren't. If I notice them, I get rid of them. But this should be a good topic. I hope that will interest some people, and it's going to touch on some of my first fruits in a way, and I hope a few different devices, let's call them plot devices, plot tools, to showcase some metaphors, to showcase some lessons maybe, starting with pop culture, film, and then we're gonna get into the actual visual art aspect of it. But for the purposes of this video, we are just going to talk about one section of a pop culture icon as far as TV series goes, and we're only going to talk about one of the creators, because for the intents and purposes of this video, we're only focusing on something that he mainly devised on his own. He mainly created on his own. Now, as I've said in the past, I believe that the hero's story, or the hero's journey, is in every story. I believe the biblical narrative, if you will, of Christ plays out in every story. You have Thoth, you have Icarus, you have all of these different character arcs, but the same overall cycles that we go through. And I think every person goes through this same hero's journey in their life. And it's called the hero's journey, and we've talked about it in other videos. But mainly in this video, that's what we're going to focus on, and we're going to focus on the segment of the film segment of Twin Peaks, which is Fire Walk with Me. And again, there's a reason that I'm doing it. It's because the series as a whole, David Lynch, his vision is mainly encompassed in the film aspect. So right now, in the first half of this video, we're going to talk about Fire Walk with Me. And then in the second half of the video, we're going to talk about the series as a whole, and in kind of the same way we did Philip K. Dick, what it's done for society and what truths it hits on as far as our actual reality goes as well. So we're going to hopefully cover all of those bases. So I'm going to do my best to stay out of the chat. I'm not ignoring you. I just want to kind of stay focused on what I'm doing. Please be kind. Don't hate on each other. And so that's where we're going to start, is with Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Now, some people are not going to like this, but here's what I'm going to do. We're going to work backwards. I'm going to spoil some of it for you. So if you've never seen it, this might spoil it. But if you have seen it, even if you haven't seen it, I don't think you have to have seen it to hear my personal take on it, because, again, this is a theory that I've touched on. It's a thread that we pull on throughout the whole channel. And basically it's that reality is like those little Russian dolls. You have a layer inside a layer inside a layer, a doll inside a doll inside a doll, the Fibonacci, the spiral. You have the Christ, and then somebody else has, the same type of journey as him, and somebody else, after that and outside of that has the same type of journey. You see these echoes everywhere, and we've talked about this ad nauseum. With these film series and with art as a visual art and symbolism and symbology, that's mainly where this video is going to dwell. So the first thing is, I'm going to spoil it right now. I'm not going to tell you how it ends right now, but I am going to spoil it. And I am going to say, the reason I'm talking about this is one of the reasons I do what I do, because watching Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, the last scene where Laura ceases to live, that taught me about repentance, and it taught me about God, and it taught me about forgiveness. This is what I mean when I say art, words, music, visually, audibly. there exists a catalyst in all of these things. And everybody requires a different catalyst, a different teacher, if you will, because we all learn in different languages. Some of us are oral, some of us are visual, some of us learn, in all those ways, tactile, by experimentation, all of that. I wish you wouldn't crack on me. I do floss my teeth. I have very nice teeth. So anyways, if you're going to be mean, we're just going to start getting rid of you, because I'm going to jump into what we're focused on here, the point of the video. So my goal in this is that to showcase something I don't think anyone else caught, because a lot of YouTubers, when they review movies, and they don't touch base on with it as an art piece anymore. And either you have people going way too deep, thinking that they're being intelligent, and really they're being egocentric, just using a bunch of big words, making word salad. Or you have people doing YouTube reviews who are barely skimming the surface. They just want to push out content and get their paycheck. So they're missing the deeper symbology and metaphors that can be used in these art forms. So that's what I'm hopefully going to bring to the table here. I, as usual, was a different perspective and a spiritual, more mystical, esoteric breakdown of Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. But this is going to be a series, just like Philip K. Dick is. This is going to be something we touch on in a variety of different ways. The second half of this video is going to be more high strangeness. The first half of this video is me giving you background and explaining this scene for you. So this one scene taught me what repentance was, and it hit me. It hit my soul in such a deep way. I looked at the one girl and what she was doing, and even though I had a background, I was raised in a church, I didn't know what she was doing. Like, I'd never been taught about asking for forgiveness. I didn't know what that was. That should tell you something about how our religions are taught here in the West. But I didn't know what she was doing, right? And it hit my soul. It woke up my soul. And I believe that a lot of people have missed this. I've watched some of the interviews now with Mr. Lynch and some of the things that he has said and what he has not said. And it's obvious he's, number one, a very spiritual person. Number two, the main point he wanted to get across to people, I think what they missed, because everybody wanted to know who was the killer, who was the killer, who was the killer. He was showing us ourselves. He was being a mirror again and showing us how dirty and gross we were, and how much we play in our own muck like pigs, because we are seeking after the killer instead of looking at this poor girl and, what she went through and how she was labeled by her society and her community an outcast. And so she became what they expected her to become, even though that's not who she genuinely was. And so she was going through something also that was very traumatizing to anyone. This is a very serious topic that a lot of YouTubers and a lot of people in general have kind of glossed over, focusing on the payoff. They want instant gratification to know who was the killer. This is a problem with TV, because TV does tend to program us. Our screens program us. So if it's garbage in, it's going to be garbage out. If you're programming yourself with fallacy and WWE style type things, then you are going to have that type of attitude, no matter how strong you think you are mentally. If that's what you're seeking after, that is what you will eventually become. And I think what Mr. Lynch is trying to show us is we focus more on the people who commit the crimes and not the victims and the carnage that they leave, so that we can learn something in our own lives about, hey, that could be any one of us if we made a series of wrong, bad choices. So let's stay on the straight and narrow. And I think Mr. Lynch was very underestimated. I think he was trying to bring home a few lessons in this series. And I also think he was trying to show us something very highly strange about our own reality. But enough of me rambling. People have had the chance to step in, step out, get notification. So I'm going to get into the video now, because it will be posted for other people to see. So I don't want to, waste people's time. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to read to you the plot from IMDb. Okay. Now, again, we are going to do several videos on this, and we are going to talk about a variety of different things. This is just us getting our feet wet. And that is what good literature, good visual art will do for you, is it will catalyst a change inside of you, whether it is thought-provoking, whether it is a moral compass type of lesson or a value system, good art, good visual literature, um, good visual art and or literature should do that for a person. So I'm going to read you the plot first, and I'm going to set up this scene because this scene is epic and it's heartbreaking. And if you are a fan of film when it was art, right? This is a scene, at least this scene you should watch. Now, what I'm going to do in the first video is break this down, and I'm going to tell you about this scene, and I'm going to give you the symbology for everything that's happening because I've not seen anyone else do this, and I've watched a lot of different reviews at this point in time. I've waited for a lot of different things to go over to talk about this again and to bring it back up because, again, I've seen nobody else explain it this way. So we're going to read the plot first. I'm going to spoil it for you. I'm going to tell you symbolically what is happening in the last scene because so many people missed it. And then we're going to get into the highly strange because at the end of this movie segment of Twin Peaks, before the reboot, does Laura cease to live and go, is she born again? Or is she going to a parallel universe? Or is she experiencing something we now refer to as quantum immortality? Well, we're going to talk about that because Mr. Lynch, I guess also, and this is when I knew I had to touch on this, Mr. Lynch has a background in some of the esoteric faith systems, which we have just touched on, talking about egregores and thought forms. So we're going to talk about another story that may just have come to life. So let's read the plot first. I'm going to go all the way down this plot till the last paragraph, which is the last day of her life. And so I'm going to read you first about this movie. The series came first, but the movie is Mr. Lynch. It is his vision that he had to begin with because it gets way off track in this series because he walks away. So this is... It says Laura Palmer's harrowing final days are chronicled 1 year after the murder of Teresa Banks, a resident of Twin Peaks' neighboring town. Okay, so this is a prequel to David Lynch and Mark Frost's earlier TV series, Twin Peaks. The first half hour or so concerns the investigation of FBI agent Chet Desmond, which is played by Chris Isaac, and his partner Sam Stanley, Kiefer Sutherland, into the murder of night shift waitress Teresa Banks in the small Washington state town of Deer Meadow. When Desmond, oh, hold please. And I will prove to you, I think at the end of this, that I'm right in the way that I perceive this. Because if I perceive this last scene correct, then it means my theory about the overarching series is probably correct too. So we're going to talk about something called, a character called the Log Lady. Something that, again, I think everybody else missed. Mr. Lynch spoon-fed his audience what was happening. He tried to, as much as he could without coming right out and saying what was going on. Because he has this woman act as a narrator and come in to certain scenes and she's like, wait a second, you're seeing this wrong, you're misinterpreting this. So anyway, continuing on. It says, when Desmond finds a mysterious clue to the murder, he inexplicably disappears. The film then cuts to 1 year later. Now, this is actually Twin Peaks. This is a nearby town of Twin Peaks. It follows the events during the last week in the life of Laura Palmer, played by Cheryl Lee, a troubled teenage girl, okay, with two boyfriends, the hot-tempered rebel Bobby Briggs and quiet biker James Hurley. Her drug addiction, and her relationships with her difficult and possibly schizophrenic father Leland. Is he schizophrenic or demon-possessed? We'll get into that. There's also a lot of Masonic symbology in this. Again, we're not afraid of symbolisms, and we're not afraid of words here on this channel. We're not afraid of much here, okay? What we are afraid of is misleading each other and being taken into deception anymore. Reality by nature, it does seem, is deceptive. But if you look in nature, what creatures are deceptive? Those that are just trying to survive, right? Like you see big giant eyes on the wings of a moth so that it looks like a bigger animal to prey and they leave it alone. I've learned reality can be deceptive too. But we shouldn't intentionally mislead or deceive each other. This is why I don't edit, and this is why I don't have scripts anymore myself. Sometimes you'll see me with notes and stuff, but I want everything to be as genuine as possible. And sometimes, I take the risk of looking very stupid for that, but such as it is. All right. So there's a lot of, Laura is basically dating these bad boys, 2 of them, and she's coming to be known as a bad girl. She's obviously troubled. One of the boys she's probably with because he is her hookup for the nose candy that she seems to be inclined to do, but she is doing this as usual to cover up and to numb herself and to cover up other things. Now, on the surface level, Mr. Lynch is showing us the seedy underbelly of every small town. He is also touching on topics which are very close to our modern society here in America, which is probably why there is not a lot more pomp and circumstance and fanfare around this series for the cult following that it has, is because it touches on things that are directly related to our alleged elitist societies, like child harming. That is a big part, and it comes to be revealed that is what Laura, a teenager, is going through in her own house. Now, I have to tell you that because, again, it shows us, and this is something I wanted to touch on too. One of the biggest villains in our life, in our reality, and in TV reality, one of the biggest villains that doesn't have a face, doesn't have a body, is negligence. This town attributes to this young woman's pain, and it attributes to her murder, in fact, by their negligence, their lack of doing anything. They've done nothing to help the situation. In that same vein, as I said, things that go out and parallel out, like an onion, like the little Russian dolls, in that same vein, because this is what the show's about. It's about a show within a show within a show within a show. And in case you haven't figured it out yet, that's what our reality is. But more of that high strangeness after we get to the basic grossness of what's going on here. Mr. Lynch was trying to show us and be a mirror for us and show us, hey, you're more interested in the people who are doing harm than the ones who are being harmed. He was trying to show us the ugliness of our current society, which is why this is a hard pill for most people to swallow, and it's why most people will miss that part of the symbolism. I catch it because I've been a victim of negligence, but I've done great harm with my own negligence. So I saw 2 people leave. Please understand, we look foolish when we don't listen to the whole context of what somebody's saying. But moving on, I've been on both sides of that. I have done great harm by my own negligence. So I see negligence as this faceless enemy, if you will, perpetuated by our own misbehaviors. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So she's in with the wrong crowd. She's got these things going on. They all come, it's a white picket fence community. It's very 1950s idyllic. Is it taking place in the 1950s? I think it is, but don't quote me on that because I could be wrong about that. Moving on. Now we're going to get to the actual. With the gruesome discovery of the 17-year-old drifter Teresa Banks' body, wrapped in plastic, the FBI agent Chester Desmond and the forensic expert Sam Stanley find themselves in the small town of Deer Meadow, Washington. 12 short months later, in the sleepy neighboring town of Twin Peaks, things spiral out of control in the life of the abused, traumatized, and emotionally broken teenage homecoming queen Laura Palmer. So this also showcases, you could say this is emblematic for a fall of an empire or a society. She is royalty, right? She is known as the homecoming queen. But underneath all of that, she has her addiction, she has her vices, she's in pain, she is suffering, she's causing others pain, and she's wearing a mask, right? So this is emblematic. We are each and every one of us in our own way Laura, just like we are each and every one of us in our own way Christ. At some point in time, we've all been picked on, we've all been bullied, we've all been persecuted. So we have all put our own feet in the hero's journey. That's what each one of our lives is the hero's journey, and that's what every story is. Every story has the Christ story in it. Every story is the journey of you, me, him, her. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so moving on. Once this guy disappears, they're looking for the murder of this Teresa Banks, all right? So we're going to move on. I don't want to read you the entire deal of what's happening. We're going to get to the last couple hours of her life, because I'm going to do this in a couple different ways. This first video, we're just touching the surface on a few things, and I'm easing you into the topic. In the next video, watch for it, because I'll probably do it from the laptop so I can show you visuals to go along with everything, right? And you can see what I'm talking about when I talk about how impactful this scene is. But I also think it can be with the written word. So I'm going to go to the very last day. And again, there are spoilers, but I have to set up the scene about what's happening. Okay, so what's happening here is throughout the whole movie, Laura doesn't know who's harming her. She doesn't see the person's face. And it's been a while since I watched it, so I don't want to misquote something that's going on here. But that's why it's a mystery of who kills her, because she blocks it out of her mind of who's abusing her. She doesn't want to know who's doing that, right? And it all comes out that it's her own father. I know, it's very nasty, but we're moving on. This is also why I was kind of angry that everybody focused on, they wanted the closure, they wanted to know who committed the crime. When Mr. Lynch wanted us to sit for a while in our own filth and see, okay, this is the underbelly of our society today. This is what we're enabling with our negligence. This is what we're enabling by watching these shows that wrap these cases up in a half hour, and you think everything's tied up in a bow. That's not how real justice works. That there's a lot of pain and suffering sometimes to get to that justice that you're seeking. So I hope that makes sense too. Okay, so I'm going to read the scene. Okay, synopsis. I'm going to lay it out for you, try and explain what's going on, and then I'm going to cut to a different article where we talk about something more esoteric regarding the end. Because when it ends, we don't know. Is she going to another parallel dimension? Is she being born again into a new life, reincarnated? What exactly is going on there? And so, here we go. So Laura's hanging out with the wrong crowd. She's doing all these things she shouldn't be doing, but she's also in a lot of pain and suffering, and her mind is hiding half of her own life from her. Meanwhile, we have her father who is doing these things to her, but he's also hidden through it. The audience doesn't know who he is either, and they call this person Bob, and they give him a dirty, nasty denim jacket. Like, he looks like the guy from The Stand. He looks like the Antichrist from The Stand. Why do they all look like that? I don't know. So anyway, he's got this denim jacket, he's got the long hair, and his name is Bob. Come to find out, Bob is this evil entity that harasses the entire town. But it seems that he gets into the town and into certain people through their vices, much like we see our own demons play out through our everyday addictions and the lies that we tell to cover up our addictions. You see, this is very emblematic of and symbolic of our own everyday lives. So there absolutely is something here to learn from and to grow from. Remember, in this video, I'm not getting too deep. We are just, and I don't mean to ignore anybody, but I want to stay like where I'm at with this, because the whole point of this video is to show how I was pulled back to being, to realizing, wow, God is real, right? And it's also to showcase that there is a good way to look at things, that people are looking through eyes darkly a lot of times, and they're seeing the really bad and the really nasty and the really gritty. But you can't showcase that and see that without seeing the light. And once you shine the light on these things, it kind of sanitizes it. So I want to take a different perspective than the other YouTubers are taking and look at it from a spiritual angle. Okay, so Laura thinks that her angels have abandoned her, because right before she's ended in the show or in the movie, this angel picture that she has on her wall disappears. And Laura, they're good girls. These people, they start out as like God-fearing, God-believing, whatever people, go to work the 9 to 5, mom and dad, picket fence, that whole deal. So her angel disappears, and she figures like that's an omen, like that means that all the angels have disappeared out of Twin Peaks. So that's important. We're going to go back to that in just a minute. So I'm going to set up this last scene, and then I'm going to read it for you. So Laura is about to head out. she's told her boyfriend, the one that she actually loves, she's like, I can't be with you anymore. Basically, she's pushing him away because she knows she's going through a thing and she's going to fall off the cliff soon. She's either going to self-destruct or something bad is going to happen. Like, she already knows this. So she pushes this guy away from her that she actually likes. And the other guy realizes she's just using him to have a connection with, you know, the candy that she likes. And so she kind of sees both of them. Then she gets caught. But basically, she is planning out on a night of heinous fun, right? Wickedness. She's planning out on this night of wickedness. Now, I find this ironic that it's always this way, that the fathers that are doing the abusing and the corrupting and the staining, if you will, of their pure daughters, they don't look at themselves as staining the daughters. It's everyone else. No one else can have the daughter. No one else can touch the daughter, but the father can. That's something to remember too, as far as the psychology of this show altogether goes. You know, to have that in the back of your mind. So she's planning out on a night of fun, of getting, you know, really twisted, of basically self-destructing. She knows that something's got to give here at this point. And her dad catches her and her friend, who are about to partake of things. And that's where we're at. And we have two girls. Now, I'm going to read this scene to you, but I'm going to tell you that the two girls already represent the two thieves on either side of the cross. The one girl, Laura, represents the unrepentant thief. Her friend, the other girl, represents the thief who repented. I had to give you that little bit going into this so you understand, and so I didn't forget, because that was like a newer insight that I got. I want you to understand where I'm going with this and what I'm trying to showcase. Okay. So at 9:30, James, this is the boyfriend. This is when she tells him to buzz off or whatever. James picks up Laura outside her house and rides away with her while Leland watches nearby. Leland is her father, I think. Again, we'll get there. Just hang on. Laura, okay. She's high on her nose candy. She's preparing to meet Leo and Jock when she receives a phone call from James, who demands to meet with her. That's her sweet boyfriend. At 9:30, James picks up Laura outside her house and rides away with her while Leland watches nearby. In the woods, Laura tells James his Laura is gone. You want to remember that, too, for future reference. Do they know? Are they self-aware? Because another YouTuber did hit on that. Is this television show self-aware that it is a television show? Again, after she actually dies, once we get past the nitty-gritty, like the superficial crime that is bad and exploitative enough, but then you get to this strange stuff that's happening that, of course, Mr. Lynch has not explained, but we've already been talking about this stuff. That's why I pulled this back out from the netherworld there. Okay. So she tells James, your Laura is gone. Is she meaning both? The old girl that she used to be, the sweet, nice, kind Laura? And see, that's the thing. Laura is making, at this point, and understand this is why I talk about consent. At this point, she is consenting. She's already consenting that something is going to go wrong. She's already consenting that she's a different person, that she's not that same good girl. So she's already headed down the road of a sinner, if you will. For the intents and purposes of this video breakdown, that's what we're talking about. And I see people keep leaving, and it's sad because this gets really good. But anyway, so she tells him, your Laura is gone. And Laura also blurts out that Bobby ended a guy 2 nights ago. Why she does that, we don't know yet. James and Laura continue to ride around in his bike, but Laura jumps off the bike while it's stopped at the red traffic light at the corner. Screaming that she loves him, Laura runs away from James and travels deeper into the woods. Laura meets Ronette. Now, that's the girl that's with her in the end. Laura meets Ronette, Jacques, and Leo, and they all drive in Leo's red Corvette to Jacques' cabin, where they engage in a group sensual activity, if you will. Starts with an O. They do that together. Now, so first you see Laura making the decision that she's going to be a bad girl. Then you see her being a bad girl. As I've said before, the things that you do with your body open doors to other things to now enter your life. This is what you're seeing here. She is consenting thus far to what is occurring, okay? But does she change her mind at the very end? Let's find out. So they're all in this cabin, 4 of them, getting it on, doing the hibbity jibbity. And Leland is watching her dad, the one who is jealous but disgusted at the same time. So we're just going to leave that where it's at, okay? Because that's a whole nother, All right, so after he's watching them from outside, Jacques wants it to be rougher, and so he ties Laura up. This is actually, I thought it was in a train. Oh, it is. Okay. Leland then attacks Jacques outside, sneaking up behind him and knocks him out with a liquor bottle. Leo sees Jacques laying on the ground outside and flees in panic. So the 2 young kids, the 2 guys that they're partying with, actually I think they might have been older and it was gross, but anyways, these 2 guys that they're partying with take off because they're scared by the dad, obviously. But we're not done. You might think, oh God, her dad's there. No, he's not saving the day. Let's check this out. So Leland, the dad, then takes Laura and Renette, both of them, both still tied up, to the train car. This scene is epically hard to watch. I cannot even describe it to you as someone who is a female and has put myself and had other people put me in those similar precarious situations. It's a very hard watch, and I'm not even gonna try and sugarcoat that for you. It's heart-wrenching because it shows the girls, like, their lipstick is all smeared, their makeup is all smeared, they're in slips, they're half naked, their arms are tied behind their back. They think maybe they're going to be saved, and Laura realizes that her dad just saw all that, and suddenly she realizes he's the one that's been hurting her, and she didn't know that until, like, this bit here, like either right before this or right during this is when she comes to the realization it's my dad that's been doing the harming. Like, she knew it, like, right before all this stuff happened. I think she told him in some way, and he's disgusted, and he can't have her tell that secret. And this is what I've always tried to tell my children and anyone who's been in this situation. Please understand that you're not special, in that there are people out there who do harm strictly for the sake of doing harm. They enjoy harming others. You've done nothing to deserve that harm. I don't care what they say about reincarnation, past lives. That's balderdash, and they're trying to justify the pain that they're inflicting. There is no excuse for that type of abuse, let alone that type of abuse to a much younger person or somebody of your blood. Like, that's just, there are certain things that are abominations. So I want to tell you that these people are not unique. They always tell you that if you tell anything, I will hurt that person. I will hurt the person you love most. They all say that. And then if they think you're going to tell, they will end you to keep their secret. That's how you know it's truly wicked, because they know what they're doing is wrong, and they do it anyway. It's not a sickness. They do it anyway. And see, I lost 2. I watch very carefully who watches my channel, and if you get grossed out by hard topics like this, that's probably the Holy Spirit convicting you, and I know what your sin is then. Do you see how that works? If you can't take being around certain topics, if you can't even refute them or rebuke them, there's something going on with your spirit. I know that because I used to be the same way. Every time I heard somebody talk about alcohol, I would quit listening to the video because I was still lost in that sin. I couldn't handle, my spirit didn't want to hear it at that point. Okay, so moving on. The dad now has saved them from these 2 older men and this group activity that they're engaging in. So they've already opened the door, spiritually speaking. They've already got substances in their blood, and they've just now opened their bodies to these 2 people. So they're already dirty. They've got no time to, like, think about anything. They're not in a repentant state. They're, like, taken right away from this cabin to a train car by Laura's dad. So the one girl might be thinking, oh my God, we're going to be saved. She looks around and suddenly recognizes what's about to happen. And I'm going to explain this, but let me read it first. I'll go through what they have here, and then I'll tell you in my words what I saw, what it meant to me, and why that pulled me back to the Lord. And I've got goosebumps talking about it because it's a pretty, if you haven't seen the scene, you've got to go see it. Like you just, if you're a spiritual person and you've lived through some stuff, maybe you'll see it the way I did. So let's finish the scene. Okay, so Leland takes Laura and then tied up, and now their makeup is smeared, they're crying, they're bawling, and all this stuff is going on. It says, meanwhile, there's this one-armed man named Mike realizes that Bob, or Leland, is about to kill again. Bob is the demon that's possessing Leland to do these things. Now, that does not take accountability off of him. Please understand that. All of these people opened the door to this wicked entity, if you will, the devil or the Lucifer or the Satan of this show. They all initially opened that door. And not everybody knows how to close it, just like in real life. I would really love to find the transcript and read to you from the exact transcript, but I'm going to save that for a video that I do on the computer, and I can show you the still images that go with it. But right now I'm going to finish reading this and explain it to you more and explain why I saw what I saw and why I think I'm right. Okay, so this guy knows that Bob's going to kill again, so he chases after him. As Leland is tying Laura up a second time, she asks Leland if he's going to end her. He doesn't answer. So Laura asks her dad, "Are you going to kill me?" Leland places a mirror in front of her. She screams after seeing her reflection turn into Bob. Bob is real. He tells Laura that he wants her. Strong pause right here. What's going on? This evil entity wants to possess Laura. Now, I told you earlier, she's already consented to some of this. She consented to meeting the boys. She already said she's not the same girl. She's already halfway to possession. All she has to do now is let Bob in. Now, what you have here is Leland, her dad, doesn't want this to happen to her. But Bob is inside of her dad, and he wants it to happen to her. So again, you have to keep up with the parallels here, because symbolically, this is saying a lot about society, about spirituality, about the relationships in families and communities, and yes, also about good, bad, evil, light, the devil, and God. It's, all these things wrapped up in one at the same time. So here's when he plays, now she's screaming, the other girl's screaming, she's trying to get out the train car, they're locked in. She's somewhat still tied, that's right, she's still tied up in the corner. The other girl kind of shrunk away to the corner while he's dealing with Laura. And he's screaming at her, he's like, look at yourself, Bob wants you. The dad almost is to the point where he wants to end Laura's life so that she does not get ruined and possessed by this Bob. Because here's the thing. Here's the crux of what Lynch didn't explain and what a lot of people don't understand. If she gets possessed by that thing and she consented to it by those wicked behaviors, she will lose her soul. There are some priests out there saying that there are certain saints that consented to being possessed and they're now in heaven. I don't know that I'd be saying that. Satan is tricky to get that consent from you. And our bodies matter to him for some reason. And he really is after our soul. So you have to ask yourself again, what's going on there? What are we being lied to about? So you have Laura screaming. She's got red lipstick, we all know what she just did. She's got the red lipstick smeared, the mascara smeared. She's in the white slip and her white garment is sullied, right? It's dirty, it's soiled. And she's looking in this mirror, the worst she's ever seen herself. And not only is she a mess, but now she sees something that is not her. But she's seen it in her dad before. She saw Bob's face before, but not in the mirror. She only saw it on her dad. So now she's like, and also you have that fear of every child, oh my God, I'm turning into my dad, the evil I did not want to be. Now I'm going to become him. And neither one of them can take it. It's a hard scene, man. It took a lot of, I'm sure, real emotion to dredge this stuff up. So, moving on. We have all of this going on. So you got a picture in the middle of the train car is her dad over her. Her hands are still behind her back. She's kind of bent over, and he's holding this mirror in front of her, da-da-da-da-da. Meanwhile, you've got little Ronnie over in the corner. And what does she do? She's a mess, too. Her makeup is smeared all over the place, too. She's in a white soiled garment, too. But what does she do? And I saw another YouTuber do this, and they should be ashamed of themselves just for not having the proper captions up. But what does Ronnie do? She hits her knees. Now, when I watched this, in 2017, 2016, I had just started waking back up by God, whatever you want to call it. And when I saw this, it touched my heart. As being raised a Catholic, yes. But I've lost girls when I was young. There were a couple of girls that were killed in a very violent way that I went to school with. And so I've experienced some part of this being that community. I've been a part of a community that had suffered instances like this, and then my high school sweetheart was ended too. So our generation suffered a lot in that area. So you've got all of this chaos happening, and he's focused on her. He's forgotten about Ronnie, but the door's still not open. And Ronnie hits her knees. And she's like, oh God, I'm so dirty. I'm filthy. You can't see me. I don't want you to see me. Please, God, don't look at me. I can't be. But she's looking up because she can't help herself. And she's like, please, God, you can't do this to me. You can't see me like this. I don't want to see you, God, please. And she's like trying to cover up, but like she's got no hands because she's tied up. And she's like, and she's trying to like just hide herself and become as small as she can in this corner. And then she repents and she's like, oh my God, she's like, I am so dirty and I'm so sorry. And I should have never done any of these things. And she's just like, it's coming out of her mouth. Most people are focused on what's going on with Laura and Leland, so they're not paying any mind to that. I'm bawling like a child because I'm like, I need to do that. That's what my soul needs. My soul needs that. Like I realized that as soon as I see it, it acted as a artistic visual catalyst for me. I wasn't taught about repentance. I was taught about Christ. I was taught about the gospel. I was taught about the Bible. But I was taught to say you're sorry and go to confession. They never said like change, right? Like sorry means change. It's more than just words, it's do. But I hadn't been to school in so long, and I was so little when I did learn catechism. But when I saw that dirty, sullied girl who thought she was going to die, she's seeing her friend die. Like at this point in time when she's praying, Laura's life is being ended. And this girl is there. Like not only were they just intimate in the same group together, but now she's seeing this poor girl who was her friend, who she's laughed with, cried with. She's seeing her own dad like end her in a very vicious way. And here's where you see the angel appear, and Laura gets mad and jealous. Now just pay attention to this because we're at the end. You see Mother Mary. Now I recognized it again as a Catholic. I recognized it as Mother Mary, but everybody calls it an angel. But it's Mother Mary. It's the blue and white headdress and it's the praying hands. So most of us know that as Mother Mary. So Mother Mary enters the train car and Laura sees this. Laura sees Mother Mary, which they refer to as an angel the whole time. And she actually gets this look on her face like of rage, of jealousy, like, why are you helping her? Where have you been this whole time? I needed you. You've abandoned me. What are you doing? Why are you not coming to help me? Laura is still focused so much on her own pain and her own suffering that she's not seeing that she's causing pain too. She's still not being accountable. She's still not coming to terms with the fact and taking responsibility and ownership. But her friend Ronnie, in her brokenness, was beautiful because she was actually sorry. She saw the pain and the damage that she caused, and she saw the edge of the cliff and where it could lead. And at that moment, when Mother Mary is there and Ronnie is repenting and Laura's wondering, what is going on? Why did you abandon me? But you're here for her. The rope slips off of her hands, and she's basically kind of thrown out of the train car. And not only does Leland walk by her with Laura's body now, and Ronnie's just laying on the ground, but then also that other guy that's following Leland, he walks by her. They don't touch her. The other YouTubers, again, they can't tell you what's going on here. They can't determine why did they all just walk past her. And a lot of the YouTubers that do know, the ones that I tell you that know what they're doing in this time, they're mocking. They know what's going on. Ronnie repented, right? You see? Mary came and she was untouchable. Once Ronnie repented, she was untouchable. They didn't even see her there anymore. They weren't interested in her anymore. Why? Because wickedness was there for Laura. It was there to drag her to hell. Now, cut to the last scene. we're going to skip the police work in that for right now in this video. Cut to the last scene. Laura's in a place called the Black Lodge. In this whole series, you have the White Lodge and the Black Lodge. Yes, I know we're going to get into some Freemasonry. Don't be afraid. Symbols aren't scary. People are scary. I've met some scary people. Symbols aren't scary. Okay? She goes, when she dies, to the Black Lodge, and she thinks all hope is lost, right? But then you see at the end, Mother Mary appears in the Black Lodge. Well, how is this possible? There's a few theories that I have on this. Either A, there's a psalm. There's actually a psalm that David is crying out to the Lord, and he says, even in my darkest hours, even in the caverns of hell, you are there. You can hear me. Now, I know we have pastors out there teaching you that hell is eternal separation from God. Please understand, what kind of God, creator, maker would it be if he could not touch everything and all things and be everywhere all at the same time? Okay? So, again, please be careful who you listen to and what you believe, accept, and receive as truth. Not everything out there is true, no matter what kind of degree they have or what have you. So Laura is at the end, and she's finally with Agent Cooper, and Agent Cooper is the one who's been trying to solve her murder, right? And at the end, she is laughing. Now, we're going to get into high strangeness here for the last probably 15 minutes of this video, which is about perfect. I have another link pulled up, and I want to read from it. And no, you don't have to know the whole series to hear this. Because again, this actual link touches on synchronicity of the channel itself, and it touches on egregores and thought forms. Meaning, are we creating reality, or are we created beings? Are our boogeyman, are they all thought forms? Are we making these things and breathing life into them by naming them? I think there's a lot to look at there. Just my opinion. Okay. Now, I'm going to prove real quick. This will be like the intermission of this video. I want to prove real quick that I know what I'm talking about with the log, or with the log lady. There's this woman that David Lynch uses that as a plot device. What's a plot device? A plot device is like, say this cup, right? Say my audience, I'm having a hard time getting you guys to relate to me, getting you to understand me, right? This cup is going to be my new plot device. I'm going to use this cup to get you to relate to me. Why? Because you know what copper is and I know what copper is. So I'm going to use the copper of this cup to describe something that's happening in my life so that maybe you can relate to it too. A plot device is simply a tangible object that helps you to understand something better. So David Lynch creates this plot device, and it's a character, and she's called the Log Lady. And she comes in, and she is, and it's sad, it really is, honestly, that authors and writers have to do this nowadays. David Lynch basically created her to explain the story to people because they kept missing the point. So why is Log Lady, first of all, the question you should ask yourself is, why is Log Lady holding a log? They're using her as a plot device to try and get the audience to go in the right direction, because she comes right out and tells us, Log Lady says, sometimes you, and she's holding the log like a baby, and she says, sometimes you see something and you mistake it. You don't interpret it in the correct way. And then she says, I like something called some kind of gum. I don't like it hard. I don't like it soft. I like it just in the middle. Which reminds me of the verse where Christ says, God says, I don't want you hot. I would rather have you hot or cold. If you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. But she's saying she likes lukewarm, right? That's your first clue. The next clue is she's holding the log like it's a baby. Well, the first thing I thought of was log, Ren and Stimpy. The next thing I thought of was thinking it's David Lynch, thinking I saw this girl repent, thinking they are representative of the two thieves of the cross where one repents and the other doesn't. What is log? Yuletide log. What's a Yuletide log? Noel, Christmas. Why is it like a baby? Because of Jesus, baby Jesus. He's telling you that the angel wasn't an angel, it was Mother Mary, number one. And he's telling you this is a spiritual show. All of these things you're seeing are symbolic. I think that proves that he was aiming at a spiritual resolution with this. He was aiming to get people spiritually, that it was really as simple as showing people God, showing people that there is hope, right? In all the darkness in the world and in life, there is always going to be hope. And he was showing us how to shine a light on something, to take the fear from it, to remove the fear, and to sanitize it. Things that I've been saying for eons on the channel. All right, so now we're going to get a little weird. This is, somebody else wrote this 8 years ago. Emily Colucci, it looks like. It's called from a website called Filthy Dreams. No, it's not a bad, naughty thing. She starts talking about Twin Peaks, and she hits on the egregores and the thought forms. Now, here's the thing. At the end of Fire Walk With Me, you have a break, and then you have a new season of Twin Peaks, where it's 20 years later, right? They did all these reboots a few years ago. So they do this reboot, and again, I'm convinced they do these reboots to teach us something. You got a lot of people who are saying they're Christian, and they're on here, and they're saying how all of this stuff is wicked and bad, and how you shouldn't watch it. God raises up good people too, you know? God will raise up his own people too, and they will be actors and writers and authors, and they try to get the gospel out too. Lord of the Rings, he's a Christ believer, a Christ follower, and so is, oh geez, H.R. Tolkien. No, that's the same guy. Lord of the Rings and the other one that's pretty much the same, like another story like that. Anyways, Narnia, they were both Christ followers, right? So this person starts talking about some of these parallels. Now, again, some people think that what we're watching here is a show that is self-aware that it's a show. Like, it knows it's a show, and that this is why things got really wacky. And that's the thing. That's what David Lynch said too. He had never done a TV series, but it's obvious I don't think he'll ever do work on another one, because he couldn't tell the story he wanted to tell. People want things wrapped up in a half hour or an hour on a television series, but that's not how life is. And a real artist, half-hour programs, like that type of consumable content, is just that. It's content. It's just for ratings, money, and to program people. You might as well think of them as long advertisements. How many times in those shows do you see somebody pick up a soda, use a certain kind of car, use the OnStar system in the car? All of it is about programming and sponsorship. If you want to actually see art and learn something, watch a film or a movie. And watch the independent ones. Watch the short films that people who actually care about the art are putting up. Because not all of it's wicked and bad. And a lot of it, again, you're looking through the eyes darkly. You're looking through a dark glass. You're seeing the darkness and missing the light, right? All right, so this is called, it says, I saw myself from long ago, unraveling subjecthood in Twin Peaks, The Return. Now, this is addressing a specific episode, so I might skip over some of this, but to make it make sense, I'll give you a little background. But I want, really, what I want to focus in on here is Lynch and his storytelling style. And I'm going to make a bold claim again here. Not all things that you watch are fictional. You're going to say, well, yeah, I know some of it's... No. Somehow, some way, I haven't figured it out yet, and people call me crazy all the time, so it really doesn't even bother me anymore. Some of the things that we watch, that we consume, are these people's actual lives, or at least one of their lives. You're going to say, but Jen, aren't you a Christ follower? Yep, I am. But I do believe that some people, because they didn't know any better out of ignorance, maybe they accidentally consented, or maybe you didn't learn what God wanted you to learn yet. Maybe God does both. Maybe we go through a cycle where until we're totally refined, he reincarnates us again and again until we're perfected. I don't know the answers. I don't have all the answers. But I'm not going to shut my mind down and shut down my own senses and the experiences I've had in life to say, okay, I'm a pigeonholed Christian. I'm only a churchianity Christian. I only believe things that are in the Bible. I'm not saying the Bible's not true. I'm saying there's a lot of other truth as well. So nobody's happy with me. I'm either too Christian to be New Ager, or I'm, not Christian enough. I'm not stringent enough. I'm not legalistic enough. I'm not trying to please my audience. I'm trying to show you and point you and get you interested in your spirit again and God again. What you decide to do with it, completely up to you. This is my testimony and witnessing to the fact that God is still working in our lives, in your life and my life. And sometimes, the things that happen are our fault. Sometimes they're not our fault, but there's always hope. And I think that was the main point of Lynch, was that no matter how dark things get, see, because Laura died, and even in her death, when she's at the Black Lodge and everyone thinks all hope is lost, there comes an angel from heaven into the Black Lodge, into what is supposed to be untouchable by God. And she starts laughing. Cut with the superficial outlook, the other part. Throughout this whole thing, and I do agree with one review that I saw, and I don't even remember who it was, but I do agree with this part. You're given clues throughout the whole movie. And you have to understand, again, David Lynch as a director. All of his films have the same thread. It is a movie about a movie about a movie. It is characters that come to real life. It is about reality and make-believe intertwining. It is about giving so much life to a character, like so much of a cult following, that character becomes life. And in metaphysical dictionaries, that is called egregores, or thought forms. I'm just gonna stop it, man. Okay, so this is going to refer to a couple of episodes, but I want to tell you this one part. One of the things that we see over and over is when they're on Laura, because a lot of her stuff is flashbacks and she's deceased, she's ceased to live or whatever. You see this blinking on her face, right? Now, if I put my face in front of the screen, that's also what you see, right? That blinking, that from static. You see this a lot on her face and some of the other characters' faces, as if they are on a screen, or they know they are on a screen. So at the end where Laura is laughing, it's either, I think, because she's being literally born again into this new life, this new incarnation with the reboot, and they kind of know that's going to happen already. She's also laughing because she realizes, hey, all hope is not lost. It's not too late for me. I repented, although it was at the moment of my death. I repented, and now, I'm going to be born again. But we have to figure out, what does born again mean? In the reboot, is it actually a parallel universe? Or are they coming out of TV land into reality? Or is that just semantics in a word game? Are we talking about the same thing using different words? Because I think this has bearing. Why? For example, I always use, now David Lynch, but I also use Ed Harris as an example. Ed Harris always plays the same character. Every movie he's in, he always plays this godlike, teacher-like caricature. Whether it's a villain or a good guy, I'll leave up to you. But he is, for all intents and purposes, the God in The Truman Show. And he is, for all intents and purposes, the God in Snowpiercer. People call that typecasting. They say, well, I took this role and now they think that's all I can play. I would disagree. I think they are showing us that certain traits follow us from life to life. And I do think our lifespans are longer than they tell us. So I think they fool us into having more than one life here on the earth. But I do think the earth is our home and it's ours. But there's a lot here to unpack. And I don't think we're supposed to know every mystery in life. But this is one that's been knocking at us. And at this point in time, I only know because I can sit and watch so much. Because I have no life. And so I tell you to pass it on to you so you don't have to waste your time. But I'm telling you, we're told in the Bible, right, that everything we say and do is recorded. That's also spoken of in the New Age with what is called the Akashic Records. It's also spoke of in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. That everything you say and I say, everything that we do, will go in the Book of Life. But now we have books on tape. We have books digitally. We have tablets that are digital, and they can hold a whole library of books. So it is possible that everything we do and everything we say is recorded. And I would argue that that is some of the movies and some of the shows that we watch. Not all of them. And I would also argue there's one person. There's one genuine, true man on each show that everybody else is kind of manipulating and working around to make the show happen. Is this the case for everybody's life? No. Am I crazy? Maybe. Do I have all the answers? No. But I've seen enough to know that this is one of those plots. This is one of those things that they never come out and tell you, all right? And again, this is where you have to be a little more mature of a person and understand writing devices and literature and all that. But almost every show or every video that I've seen in the last, I don't know how long, has, I'm just going to keep deleting you, so it's okay. The Truman Show, absolutely. I'm looking forward to a plot twist too. There's one coming. Don't ever lose hope. And keep your mind on heavenly things, because our thoughts, that's what we're going to talk about now. Our thoughts do affect what we go through here. Okay, so now again, you might think that that's a crazy and very bold statement to make, but I've watched enough acting at this point. My mom owned video stores. My dad loved black and white film. For whatever reason, they wanted to teach me through that medium, and a lot of it subliminally started hitting me when I had about 30, but I was kept very busy with children and a job, and so I couldn't address some of these stranger things in life. I'm like, how am I seeing this person everywhere I go? How does this person look like this person who's also on TV? Why does that story match my life story? How's come I watched this over here and the same thing happened here? Why does my husband and his best friend both have the same story as children, but neither were together? How does my dad have the same story as his dad, but both of our dads are different people? Do you see what I mean? Infant, I know who. Jay, aren't you supposed to be working? Stop it. You don't have to agree with me, but you are just wasting your time. The infants are the ones who sit in here doing stuff like that. Okay. So we're giving clues all throughout the whole series. And we're giving clues. Let me think of a movie where we're given a clue that it's like real. Like the Truman Show does it, but we're part of the audience. We're in on the joke there. In this, which is again for more mature people, in David Lynch's series and the film Fire Walk With Me, he doesn't come right out and tell you they know that they're a self-aware television show. He doesn't say that, but he gives you enough clues that it,